Our wedding album arrived on a Tuesday. Cream linen cover, gold embossed script, Alina and Daniel forever begins. I remember the weight of it in my hands, heavier than I expected. Or maybe it was the weight of what was inside. Daniel kissed my temple as I sat at our kitchen island. Morning light streaming through windows we'd chosen together. "Can't wait to see them," he said, voice warm with nostalgia for a day that was only 6 months past. He left for work, whistling. I brewed tea, took my time. This was a ritual, the slow unveiling of our perfect day, preserved in professional light and composition. The first page, me in my dress, reflected in the mirror at the salon, my mother's hands on my shoulders, her eyes glistening. The photographer had captured it perfectly, the love, the anticipation, the soft morning glow. I turned the page, the ceremony, Daniel's face as I walked toward him, the look I'd memorized, the one I replayed when doubt whispered in the dark. Page after page of beauty, of joy, of a day that had felt like a dream. Then, halfway through, something shifted, not in the images, in me. A chill, a recognition. The composition of the shots, the way the light fell in a particular gradient, the unusual depth of field in the candid moments, the specific way shadows were used to highlight emotion. It was a style I knew, one I'd studied in a photography class in college, a unique, almost signature approach I'd only ever seen from one photographer. Isabel Banza, Danielice Isabel, the one who came before me. The one whose name he still said in his sleep, sometimes during his first year of our marriage, before he claimed he'd stopped dreaming of her. I stood up so quickly my stool scraped the floor. No, it couldn't be. Our photographer was supposed to be Alexandra Reed. We'd met her at a wedding expo, a quiet woman with sharp eyes and a portfolio of breathtaking work. She'd been recommended by the venue. Daniel had insisted her work feels like memory, he'd said, like she captures souls. I ran to my office, pulled up the wedding contract, Alexandra Reed, photography, business address in the city, phone number, email. Then I Googled Isabel Vance. Her website was gone, social media deleted, but in the cached search results, Isabel Vance, formerly of Reed Vance Studios, Red-Vance. My breath caught. I searched Alexandra, read, scrolled past the wedding portfolio to older images, corporate events, real estate, photos, nothing before 3 years ago. Then I found a tiny credit in the footer of her site, formerly Isabel Vance of Reed Vance Studios. Now capturing moments as Alexandra Reed. The room tilted. Isabel had changed her name, or part of it, and she'd been there at our wedding, hiding behind a lens, behind a new name, for 6 hours. She'd watched us, captured our kisses, our vows, our first dance. She'd seen me cry when Daniel's voice broke during his speech. She'd zoomed in on our joined hands. She'd documented every moment of the day I became his wife, while she'd been his first. I sank back into my chair. The album opened to a page of our reception. Daniel spinning me on the dance floor, my head thrown back in laughter. Isabel had taken this photo. From what angle? What had her face looked like behind the camera? Had she smiled, cried, planned? I remembered her. Then Alexandra. Quiet, efficient, always moving. Her camera a barrier between her and the celebration. She'd rarely spoken. When she did, her voice was low, measured. She'd corrected my posture once, a gentle hand on my back as she arranged my train for the light. She'd said, taught her touch had been cold. I'd thought it was professional detachment. Now I wondered if it was something else. I flipped through the album again, looking with new eyes. That shot of Daniel alone by the bar, looking pensive, that her perspective, the intimate close-up of him tying his bow. Who else would have had that access? The photo of me adjusting my veil, my expression uncertain, was that her commentary, and the final image in the album, the one I'd loved until this moment. Daniel dipping me in a dramatic kiss, my bouquet flying from my hand, both of us blurred in motion, all focused on our joined lips. It was beautiful. It was perfect. It was also, I realized now, possessive. Claiming. Almost aggressive in its intimacy. The signature style was unmistakable. Isabel's style. Daniel came home to find me at the island. The album spread open, tea cold beside me. Baby, he said, dropping his keys. What's wrong? I looked up, my face wet, though I hadn't felt the tears fall. The photographer, I said, my voice strangely calm. Alexandra Reed, who recommended her. He froze, just for a second, a flicker in his eyes, panicked, then controlled. The venue, he said, too quickly. Remember, they had a list. Did you know, I said, slowly, watching him, that her name used to be Isabel Vance? The color drained from his face. Real, unmistakable shock, then something else, guilt quickly masked. What? No, that's a coincidence. Is it? I pushed the album toward him, open to the final kiss. This composition, this lighting, it's hers, Daniel. You know it is. He stared at the photo, then at me, his mouth open, closed. He reached for me. Elena, listen, was she there? I whispered. Was your first wife at our wedding? Did she watch you marry me? Did she take these photos? The silence that followed was the loudest sound I'd ever heard. In it, I had my answer. I stood, the album sliding to the floor, pages splaying like broken wings. I need to know, I said, my voice shaking now. I need to know everything. He didn't stop me as I walked out, as I got in my car, as I drove toward the address on the contract, toward Alexandra Reed's studio, toward Isabel, toward the woman who captured our beginning, while hiding her own ending in every frame. The sun was setting, painting the sky in violent oranges and purples. I watched it through my windshield, thinking about light, about composition, about how a photograph can tell one story on the surface and an entirely different one in the shadows. And I wondered what story Isabel had been telling, what story Daniel had been living, and what story I'd been starring in, without ever reading the script. The studio was in a converted warehouse downtown, the kind of space that costs more for its industrial charm than for square footage. A discreet brass plaque beside the door, Alexandra Reed Photography, though no mention of Isabel, though no hint of the past. My hand trembled as I raised it to knock, but the door was already opening. She stood there, as she had at my wedding toll, lean, dark hair, pulled into a severe knot, but now, in her own space, without the camera, as a shield. I saw her, really saw her, Isabel, not Alexandra, not the professional stranger. Her eyes, the same ones that had watched Daniel say his vows to me, met mine. It didn't show surprise, only a wary recognition, as if she'd been waiting for this. Knock, Alina, she said, her voice exactly as I remembered, cool, measured, like stones dropped into still water. I wondered when you'd come. She stepped aside, an unspoken invitation. The studio was all clean lines and curated light. Her work lined the walls, weddings, anniversaries, families, but on a back wall, partially hidden by a drape, were older pieces, black and whites, Xer, raw, one of them stopped me cold. Daniel, years younger, hair longer, laughing into the lens with an openness I'd never seen. The caption, in small type, Daniel mine. Isabel followed my gaze. She didn't apologize, didn't explain, just watched me absorb the truth that had been hanging in her studio all along. Why? I asked, the words scraping out of me. Why would you take our wedding photos? She moved to a work table, picking up a camera, turning it over in her hands. A nervous habit, or a power move. Daniel asked me too. She said, simply, the floor seemed to tilt. He asked you. He said it would be closure. Her smile was thin, humorless, for both of us. A way to bless the new chapter. Closer. Bless. The words felt obscene in the quiet studio. You watched him marry someone else, I said, my voice rising. You took pictures of it for 6 hours. How is that closure? She set the camera down, met my eyes. It wasn't closure. It was punishment. The air left the room. For him, I whispered. For me. She turned away, running a hand along the back of a chair. I thought if I could stand there and watch him love someone else, I'd finally be free. Or finally feel enough pain to stop loving him. And did it work? Her silence was answer. Enough. I looked around the studio again, seeing it differently now. Not a business, a shrine, a carefully constructed stage where she could keep watching him through other people's love stories. You kept your name on the contract. I said, your maiden name? She nodded. After the divorce, I went back to it. But I kept Vance as my middle name for the business, a compromise. So when Daniel insisted we hire Alexandra Reed, I said, piecing it together, he knew it was you. She didn't deny it. I thought of him at the wedding expo, pointing to her portfolio. Her work feels like memory. Now I understood. It was his memory, their memory. Did he pay you? I asked the question, ugly but necessary. Standard rate. Her voice was defensive now. I'm a professional. Professionals don't hide who they are from the bride. A flicker of shame crossed her face. Then it was gone, replaced by defiance. You got beautiful photos, didn't you? You have your perfect day, preserved. What does it matter who pressed the shutter? What does it matter? It mattered in every shot where Daniel's smile seemed directed at someone just outside the frame. It mattered in the images where I looked alone in a crowd. It mattered in the album that now felt like a document of a betrayal I'd participated in without knowing. He still loves you, I said, the realization hitting me with sudden, brutal clarity, doesn't he? Isabel's composure cracked. Just a hairline fracture, but enough that her eyes glistened. She looked away. Some loves don't end, she said quietly. They just change shape. I thought of the way Daniel sometimes stared into space, the way he'd kept a box of old memories he said he'd thrown out, but I'd found in the storage unit. The way he'd flinch when certain songs came on. He hadn't moved on. He'd brought her with him, right into our marriage, right into our wedding album. You should go, Isabel said, her voice tired. There's nothing more to say, but there was everything to say. Questions crowded my throat. Did you talk to him that day? Did he touch your hand when he took the ring box from you? Did you cry in your car after? I didn't ask them that. Instead, I walked to the door, then paused. The last photo, I said, the deepest. Why that shot? Isabel didn't look at me. Because it was the moment you looked most like you were falling, she said softly, and I wanted to remember what that looked like. From the outside, I stepped into the evening, the door closing behind me with a soft click. The city sounds rushed back, traffic, distant sirens, life moving on. But I stood still on the sidewalk, the truth settling over me like fine dust. My wedding hadn't been the beginning of my marriage. It had been the continuation of theirs, a ceremony they'd orchestrated together, with me as the unwitting lead. And the album on my kitchen floor wasn't a record of my love story, it was theirs, told through my face, my dress, my vows. I got in my car but didn't drive. I scrolled through my phone to the wedding photos I'd posted online, the ones everyone had loved, the ones that had gotten hundreds of likes and comments about goals and true love. Under each one, unseen until now, was another layer, another story. And I knew, as I stared at Daniel's smiling face in our first dance photo, that when I got home, there would be a third story waiting, and it would be the one that broke everything. Ostrich, I didn't go straight home. I drove to the overlook where Daniel had proposed, the cliff edge above the city where he'd gotten down on one knee, the sky bleeding, sunset behind him. Now, in the dark, the city glittered like shattered. Blossom loves don't end, they just change shape. Isabel's words turned in my head. What shape had Daniel's love taken? A hidden compartment in his heart, a secret email thread, a photography contract disguised as closure. My phone buzzed. Daniel. Again. Where are you? Need to talk. I didn't answer. When I finally walked through our door, the apartment was dark, except for the kitchen light. Daniel sat at the island, the wedding album still splayed open on the floor where I'd left it. He looked hollowed out. I called Isabel, he said without looking up. She told me you came. His voice was flat, defeated. Not the voice of a man caught in a lie, the voice of a man tired of keeping one. I didn't sit. I leaned against the doorway, arms crossed, putting space between us, space that had always been there. I realized now, I just hadn't seen it. Why? I asked. One word, heavy, with all the others behind it. He ran a hand over his face. I thought it would help. Help who, me? He finally looked at me. His eyes rimmed. I thought if she could see me happy, if I could prove I'd moved on. You hadn't? I said. Not a question. He shook his head slowly. No. The word hung between us, a confession that changed everything and nothing at the same time. All this time, I whispered. It wasn't about wanting her back, he said quickly. It was about letting go. I needed her to release me, and I thought if she photographed the wedding, saw me with you, you'd be free.
Yes.
And instead, he looked down at his hands. Instead, she just became a ghost in our house. In our photos, in our marriage, I thought of the way he'd sometimes stare at the wedding portrait above the fireplace. I thought he was admiring us. Maybe he was looking for her reflection in the glass. Did you talk to her at the wedding? I asked once when she handed me your ring pillow. Our hands touched. She said, "Be happy, Daniel." He swallowed. I couldn't answer. I remembered that moment, the coordinator handing Daniel the rings. He'd looked pale, shaken. I'd thought it was nerves. Now I knew whose hands had held my ring before his and after. I asked, "Have you seen her since?" "No, a beat, but I emailed a few times to get the photos. To check in. Check, yeah, such a harmless phrase for such a poisonous connection." I walked to the album, knelt, and turned to a page I hadn't examined before the getting ready shots. There, in the mirror behind me as I put in my earrings, was a blurred reflection. Isabel. Camera raised, but her eyes weren't on me. They were on Daniel's reflection in the same mirror as he laughed with his groomsmen down the hall. She hadn't been documenting my wedding day. She'd been documenting him one last time. She said the kiss photo was because I looked like I was falling. I said quietly, "Was I?" Daniel stood, came to kneel beside me. "T didn't touch me. You weren't falling," he said, his voice breaking. "I was. I've been falling since the day I left her. I just dragged you down with me." I looked at him really, looked and saw not my husband of 6 months, but a stranger, a man who had built a marriage on a foundation of another woman's grief and mine. "What now?" I asked. He had no answer. I stood, went to the closet, and pulled out my suitcase. Not angrily, not dramatically, just practically. "Alina," he said, rising. "Please, we can fix this." "Can we?" I asked, folding a sweater. "Can you take her out of our wedding photos? Out of our story? Can you look at me and not see the ghost of the woman you asked to capture us?" He was silent. That was answer. "Enough." I zipped the suitcase. It was lighter than I expected, or maybe I was stronger at the door. I paused, hand on the knob. "The album," I said, not turning. "What should I do with it?" "Keep it," he whispered. "It's your day." I looked back at him one last time, at the man I'd loved, at the lie I'd lived. "No," I said softly, "it was always yours and hers." I left the album on the floor. Left him in the kitchen, left the apartment that had never really been ours in the hallway. The elevator opened with a soft chime. Empty. Waiting. I stepped inside, pressed L for lobby. As the doors closed, I caught one last glimpse of our door. 312. Our number, his and mine, and hers, in the spaces between. The descent was smooth, silent. My phone buzzed. Isabella text. "I'm sorry." I didn't reply. I wasn't angry at her anymore. She was just another woman who loved a man who couldn't love her back completely. We had that in common. Outside, the night air was cool, cleansing. I didn't know where I was going, but for the first time since I'd said I do, I knew what I was leaving. Not a marriage, a performance, with 2 leads who'd been acting, and 1 audience member who'd been watching through a lens, crying behind her camera. I got in my car, started the engine. In the rearview mirror, our building grew smaller, its windows glowing like frames in a film strip. Our love story hadn't been a romance. It had been a documentary shot by the woman who knew the subject best. And in every frame, if you looked closely, you could see her fingerprints, her longing, her unfinished story. I drove away, leaving the set behind. Some weddings are beginnings, some are endings, and some are just beautiful, painful, expertly shot goodbyes.